Hello pandas and other scrap enthusiasts, and welcome back to the shop. I've been staring down the barrel of this video for a while, what could be my most valuable video you could possibly watch, and today is the day. My 8 best tips for new scrappers. It is aimed at helping folks who are newly interested in making money recycling a bit of scrap metal, but no worries if you've been at it for years, you can stay too. I need you to tell me if I get anything wrong. I did learn it from you after all. Now, this isn't everything there is to know. Gosh, no. But it is 10 years worth of scrap metal dumpster diving simmered down into an easy, breezy couple of minutes, and it should help anyone new hit the ground running. So, let's get moving, shall we? The first thing to get in your noodle is this. Steel is the meal. Now, I'm beating myself up over this because I wrestled, kicking and screaming against this one simple tenet for years. I had a small vehicle. This one actually, still have it, and I tried steel once. I managed to fit 3 water heaters into that little thing, and I brought them into the scrapyard all excited, and I left with $12. That's all I needed to know. I was never gonna haul steel again. I don't know why it was so low. I think steel was at a record low at the time, $80 Canadian a ton or something like that. Regardless, I spent years hunting for brass faucets and little bits of copper and any aluminum bar I could get my hands on and blah blah. So much time spent hunting for teensy little scraps, and the money I made from it was teensy little scraps. I ended up with this little truck though. I gave it another go and wow, was I wrong. All that time spent making basically nothing, ignoring what is truly the most important and most valuable material for scrap metal. So my tip is this: get yourself either a truck or a trailer. A van is alright, but being able to load and unload things over the sides as well as pile them up high and strap them down is really the most efficient. Steel now accounts for at least 80% of what I make from scrapping because it's heavy and it's everywhere. I realize not everyone has the right vehicle to start with, or any vehicle at all, but steel is how you make money scrapping, and the longer you avoid it, the more you're wasting your own time. Speaking of efficiency, I think the most persistent challenge any scrapper faces is not finding the material, but knowing how to best invest your time into it. Time will always be your most limited resource, and micro-scrapping is a fantastic way to spend an entire weekend making $30. You need to develop a sense of what is and what isn't a valuable use of your time, what items are worth picking apart and cleaning, and to what degree. Taking the time to wrench the copper pipes off the top of a water heater before heaving it into a steel pile is quick and probably a good use of the extra 30 seconds, but spending an entire weekend hammering into the brass pressure relief check valves may not be. I am a curious sort of scrapper, and I've got plenty of videos where I explore this exact question in specific material cases, and those are worth checking out, I think. But I can't tell you where to draw the line because that's a personal part of the journey. Over time you'll find that stripping copper wire is a good way to make an extra couple $100, but the smaller gauges pay out a very poor hourly rate. And chopping the little bits of copper off of a soldered brass fitting may not be as good a use of that time as just going out and finding a busted stove. You will have a bucket of dirty brass, of dirty aluminum, and it feels great to recognize these time burners for what they are, throw them in the dirty bucket, and move on to something a little more worthwhile. Now, one of the most worthwhile things in all my scrapping adventures hasn't been a tool or a route, but the human connections I've had the opportunity to make. I've been very fortunate in that I've connected with a number of individuals who work places where scrap metal is a waste product, or other people who know somebody who needs a hand getting something heavy cleared out. I enjoy my scavenging treasure hunts, but the good money in scrap isn't found sitting in a dumpster or getting rained on in a back alley. The good scrap comes from industries that produce it and individuals who know of a place getting cleaned up. Maybe you want to print some business cards or put a sticker on the side of your vehicle, but in order to level up and start getting serious scrap hauls, you can't do it alone. Smile, be friendly, and when they do call, be their efficient and painless solution to their problem, and eventually you'll have a whole bunch of people who are grateful they know a guy who can take care of that. Now this one is more personal. I haven't tried scrounging at nighttime that much, but I think hunting for scrap works better during the day for several reasons. Obviously, you can see better, but if you dress like you're supposed to be there, you can avoid looking like a suspicious character skulking around in the dark. I certainly enjoy skulking around in the dark like the gremlin I am, as much as the next person, but arousing suspicion can create problems for yourself. I've had my fair share of nosy neighbors and store managers shoo me away, which is honestly fine. But what's far more typical in my experience is it gives you the opportunity to ask. And if you're polite, sometimes the person you're talking to may just have a whole pile of other junk that they've been trying to get rid of, and you showed up at just the perfect time. And that feeds back into the previous point, because now you're networking. Heck, I've walked up to HVAC installers' vans and asked if they have any scrap metal they need to get rid of, and they've given me furnaces and AC chillers. You just never know unless you ask. There's more opportunities during the day. Daytime scrapping is tip number 4. Tip number 5 is simple, but it's a good one. You're going to need tools that will serve you well. So some grips, some snips, a multi-bit set with a cordless drill, a hammer, a pipe wrench, and an angle grinder. I wouldn't want to be without any of these. They're my EDC. But back here at the shop, I also like having a vise, a corded angle grinder, and the reciprocating saw. I didn't even pay much for any of them. I bought them used, and they've lasted through plenty of abuse. Do not cheap out and buy garbage unless you're just starting out and it's free. I've got links to my favorites in the video descriptions as well, and they're affiliate links, so I get a little kickback if you buy anything through those. Keep it simple, but quality, and maybe pick yourself up a wire stripper or a demo hammer if you get there. This one matters more than you might think. Don't be a pain in the ass at the scrapyard. Have your stuff sorted and cleaned before you roll in. Don't just show up with the Rubbermaid full of mixed materials and dump it out on the floor for them to rummage through like some kid looking for a particular Lego piece for his spaceship. I've heard people say, well, it's their job. No. It isn't. They might help you if you're interested in learning and you're new, but their job is to keep things moving along efficiently. You want the best prices? You want them to let a little of this and that slide when your bucket of aluminum is almost completely clean? Well, be the kind of seller that makes their job as easy as possible. Are you kind of bummed you always get dirty brass even though there was just a bit of paint and a couple of screws? Well, maybe don't hand them a mixed bucket of bits you just smashed up in the parking lot, Keith. I'll keep this one simple. Scrap value is always the lowest possible value for anything. So if there's even a small chance that you could clean it up or fix it up and sell it to someone who could actually use it, well, that will pay better than scrapping it. A lot of stuff is too far gone, and you obviously need to balance out the amount of junk you're hanging onto because a lot of it is not worth the space or the time that it'll eat up. And it's not going to sell if you don't actually list it somewhere. That's just called hoarding. But if you're out and about scavenging, you will come across things from time to time that are perfectly good and you could find a buyer for pretty easily. It's not uncommon for me to find 1 or 2 items that together are worth more than my entire haul of scrap for the day. Now, obviously, this isn't going to work as well if you live in the middle of nowhere, but there is always eBay and shipping. Personally, I love getting 20 bucks for something I found for free. And my approach is typically to price things at unbelievable bargains because it keeps things moving along and it keeps my workspace clear. Plus, I'll find out pretty quickly if it's not as hot an item as I thought it would be. If it is dead inventory, though, get rid of it. Because managing a massive hoard of stuff and things will choke out your workspace and your mentality. Again, the hardest part quickly becomes not finding more material, but managing your way through the stuff that you've already got. And the final tip that I think needs to be said, and this could apply to a lot of things, experience teaches you what knowledge forgets. I just made that up, but I bet it sounds cool in Latin. There are plenty of examples in scrap metals where the easiest way to figure out how to do something is to just do it. My friend Glenn reminded me of this when identifying aluminum versus zinc aluminum alloy. Chemically, the best way to be sure is to mix up a bit of stump out in water and apply it to the surface of the metal you're not sure about. If it starts to fizzle, that means there's zinc present, so now you know it's a zinc aluminum alloy and not aluminum. I have never once done that, and I don't think I'm going to, because frankly, it sounds like a huge waste of time, and it's just not that important. For me, I'll look at the casting marks to see the level of detail that the cast included. Aluminum is not for detailed castings. I'll hold it and think about the weight, and if it weighs about what aluminum of that size should weigh, then that's what it probably is. Sometimes I'll have a piece of what could be chrome-plated brass or stainless steel, and I'll have a pretty good idea which it is just because of the color of silver. There's tons of different colors of silver. There's stainless and chrome and nickel and zinc and aluminum and titanium and steel and magnesium and, of course, silver. Sometimes people ask me how to tell if a piece of aluminum is extruded or something like that. I've done what I can in video form. It looks like it was squeezed out through a Play-Doh machine, by the way. But research can only get you so far on a subject, and at a certain point, you just have to get out there and do it. You gotta dig through it with your own two hands. You gotta know what it feels like. All of this takes time. The more you do it, the more your network grows, the more you develop a route of little hidey holes and business parks that always seem to come through for you, the more efficient and effective you become. So, get out there and do it. You've done all the research. You know everything there is to know. Time to just go for it. You got this, buddy. Next video is why you shouldn't become a scrapper. Yeah. So look forward to that. Leave it better than you found it. Keep doing the thing.